The enemy is exposed, and the truth is not coming quietly. It is arriving with light so strong that what once hid in the shadows can no longer survive where God now stands. You have felt the unease in your spirit, the strange shift in the air, the sudden clarity that came without warning. That was not confusion. That was revelation. God is not whispering anymore. He is showing you plainly what was once hidden behind smiles, behind words, behind promises that never quite aligned with actions. The curtain is being pulled back, and what you see now is real. No filters. No disguises. No deception left to protect what was never meant to stay. There were moments when you questioned your own discernment. You wondered if you were imagining the distance, the resistance, the subtle manipulation, the repeated delays. You asked yourself if you were being too sensitive, too spiritual, too hopeful. But the truth is this: God was training your eyes long before He unveiled the full picture. Every uneasy feeling was a signal. Every unanswered prayer was a pause for your protection. Every delay was divine restraint. Now the restraint is lifted, and the truth is coming into full view. What you are witnessing right now is not chaos. It is exposure. And exposure is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to free you. The enemy thrives on confusion, on mixed signals, on emotional fog, on spiritual blindness. But confusion cannot survive revelation. And revelation is God's gift to those He deeply protects. You were never meant to walk blindly into destiny. You were meant to see clearly before the next step was taken. That is why what is being revealed now feels intense. It feels sudden. It feels overwhelming. Because clarity often arrives all at once. God is showing you who is truly for you and who was only positioned near you for a season of testing. Some people were sent to sharpen you. Some were allowed to expose your boundaries. Some were never meant to go with you where you are being taken. And now, as your elevation draws closer, the masks cannot remain. The room is too bright. The calling is too loud. The season is too holy for deception to continue. The enemy thought he had more time with you. He thought you would stay unsure. He thought you would remain emotionally entangled with what God never authorized. He thought you would compromise discernment for connection. But today, that illusion is shattered. God has drawn a line in the Spirit. And what crosses that line now will be judged by truth, not by intention, not by words, not by history. You are not losing anyone you truly need. You are only losing the illusion of who you thought they were. And that is not loss. That is deliverance. There are things you tolerated because of your heart. There are behaviors you excused because you saw potential. There are patterns you prayed through because you hoped love would heal what boundaries were meant to correct. But God is showing you now that your compassion was never meant to replace wisdom. Your loyalty was never meant to override obedience. Your patience was never meant to imprison you in cycles He already finished. The enemy is exposed not because he suddenly became careless, but because you have become dangerous, in the Spirit. You see differently now. You feel differently now. You respond differently now. And what once fed on your uncertainty can no longer survive your clarity. What is being revealed may hurt at first, but it is the kind of pain that heals instead of wounds. It is the pain of truth cutting away what was slowly poisoning your peace. It is the pain of realizing you were stronger than you thought. It is the pain of seeing that God protected you in ways you didn't recognize at the time. You were never crazy for questioning. You were never wrong for sensing distance. You were never foolish for expecting alignment. You were never weak for wanting honesty. You were simply ahead of the revelation. God is not exposing the enemy to embarrass you. He is exposing the enemy to elevate you, to liberate you, to reposition you, to realign you with people who speak truth without twisting it, who honor you without competing with you, who celebrate your growth instead of resenting it. There are conversations you will never need to have because the truth will speak for itself. There are closures you will never need to force because God is sealing doors that no longer lead anywhere. There are explanations you will never receive because clarity will make them unnecessary. You are stepping into a season where discernment becomes instinct, where peace becomes your compass, where confusion no longer dominates your decisions, where emotional fog lifts and spiritual eyesight sharpens. You will no longer need to overanalyze the energy in a room. You will feel it immediately. You will no longer second-guess red flags. You will recognize them without fear. You will no longer beg for truth. It will meet you automatically. The enemy wanted you distracted. God made you focused. The enemy wanted you dependent. God made you discerning. The enemy wanted you bound by emotional cycles. God made you sovereign in spirit. What is being exposed now is not small. It may involve relationships, environments, habits, voices, or even inner battles. But this exposure is not punishment. It is purification. You cannot carry what is false into what is holy. You cannot bring shadows into a future God has flooded with light. There will be people who do not understand your boundaries after this moment. They will say you have changed. They will say you are distant. They will say you are cold. But what truly happened is that you stopped bleeding in places where they once fed. You stopped explaining your worth. You stopped negotiating your peace. You stopped shrinking your calling to fit their comfort. And that silence they feel now is not abandonment, it is authority. God is restoring your trust in your own discernment. The dreams that once confused you, the restlessness you couldn't explain, the sudden urge to distance yourself, the repeated emotional exhaustion, all of it now makes sense. Nothing was random. Nothing was wasted. Even the pain carried purpose. You are not behind. You are not delayed. You are not broken. You are early to the truth. And truth always feels lonely at first because illusion gathers crowds. But do not mistake temporary solitude for divine absence. God often removes noise before He releases instruction. He removes attachments before He releases assignments. He exposes enemies before He reveals doors. Right now, your spirit is standing between what was and what will be. That is why everything feels sensitive. That is why your tolerance is low. That is why your sleep has been shifting. That is why your heart is quieter but stronger. You are being recalibrated for the next level. The enemy is exposed. The truth is revealed. And you are not meant to go back. Some doors close gently. This one is closing with thunder. Not to scare you, but to remind you that what tried to hinder you never had authority over your destiny in the first place. God allowed you to see the truth not when it was convenient, but when it was necessary. And that timing is what makes this moment sacred. You will look back on this season and realize it was the turning point. The exact moment when the fog lifted. When self-doubt lost its voice. When old emotional contracts were silently shredded. When the version of you that tolerated less than your worth finally disappeared. You are not becoming harder. You are becoming clearer. You are not losing love. You are gaining discernment. You are not being punished. You are being protected. And what God protects, no enemy can reclaim. You will notice that some connections begin to feel unfamiliar, even though they once felt like home. This is not because you no longer care. It is because your spirit has outgrown the language of compromise. What once required effort to tolerate now quietly repels you. What once drained you now cannot even approach you. This is the effect of exposure. This is what happens when God lifts the veil not only from the enemy, but from your own eyes. There were truths you were not ready to carry before. If God had revealed everything at once in earlier seasons, it would have crushed you. You did not yet have the emotional strength, the spiritual authority, or the identity rooted deeply enough to stand without collapsing. So God covered you with mercy. He shielded you with partial understanding. He allowed you to see only what you could survive. But now you are stronger. Now your roots go deeper. Now your spirit no longer shatters at the sound of truth. So the truth comes fully now. Without soft edges. Without delay. Without filters. And even though parts of it sting, your soul also feels relieved. Because deep down, you already knew. You just no longer have to pretend you didn't. What God is doing in this moment is separating intuition from insecurity. Before, you wrestled between what you sensed and what you feared. You questioned whether the discomfort came from trauma or from discernment. Now the confusion is ending. The feeling has a name. The pattern has clarity. The behavior has evidence. And the knowing in your spirit is steady, not anxious. Peace does not argue with you. Truth does not beg you. Clarity does not chase you. It simply stands. And now you see it. There are memories rising to the surface for a reason. Conversations you forgot, moments that felt small at the time, sudden changes in behavior that you brushed off, now they are returning with meaning attached. God is not reopening wounds. He is stitching vision together. He is showing you the trail you couldn't see while walking it. And suddenly, the whole landscape becomes visible. You no longer blame yourself for what you didn't know. You no longer shame yourself for what you tolerated. You no longer carry guilt for what you tried to fix alone. You did the best you could with the awareness you had then. And now you are being entrusted with greater awareness because your future demands it. The enemy's greatest strategy was not destruction, it was distortion. To blur what was real. To twist what was pure. To delay what was ordained. To keep you emotionally tethered to situations God had already spiritually released. But distortion only works in darkness. And the light is here now. This is why everything feels exposed all at once. This is why people's true intentions are slipping out unprovoked. This is why hidden attitudes are becoming visible. This is why inconsistencies are no longer subtle. Nothing is wrong. Everything is being revealed. There will be moments when you feel sad without fully understanding why. It is because you are grieving what you hoped something would become. You are releasing an image you carried for a long time. You are letting go of the version of people you loved for their potential, not their reality. That grief is real. And God honors it. But do not confuse grief with regret. Letting go does not mean you chose wrong, it means you chose truth. And truth always costs less than illusion in the end. You may also feel anger rise unexpectedly. Not a destructive anger, but a sober awareness that boundaries were crossed, that your kindness was misused, that your softness was tested, that your loyalty was stretched past safety. This anger is not to consume you. It is to teach you how valuable your heart truly is. It is teaching you what deserves access to you, and what never will again. God is not hardening your heart. He is strengthening your borders. The reason this exposure feels so personal is because the attack was personal. It targeted your identity. It pressed on your doubts. It played with your expectations. It challenged your worth. It tried to convince you that you were too much and not enough at the same time. That is not accidental. The enemy studies destiny. He does not waste energy on souls that carry no future impact. So if your truth is erupting right now, if your illusions are shattering right now, if your emotional fog is lifting right now, it is because what is ahead of you requires integrity, clarity, discernment, and inner authority. Where you are being taken, manipulation cannot follow. Where you are being positioned, deception cannot function. Where you are being elevated, confusion cannot survive. This exposure is not slowing you down. It is accelerating alignment. You may feel like you lost time. But that lost time was training ground. You learned how to hear God when your emotions were loud. You learned how to stay kind without staying blind. You learned how to love without losing yourself. You learned how to let go without becoming bitter. Those lessons cannot be skipped. They are the foundation of what is coming next. Very soon, you will start to notice a shift in how people respond to you. You will not chase respect anymore, it will meet you. You will not need to over-explain, you will be understood, or you will move on without resentment. You will not feel the urge to prove your value, it will speak quietly through your stability. And the most powerful change of all will be this: you will no longer feel the urge to expose the enemy yourself. Because God is already doing it better than you ever could. Silence will become your strength. Stillness will become your weapon. Peace will become your protection. You do not need revenge where revelation has already done the work. What is being removed now once claimed ownership over your emotions. It influenced your moods. It shaped your reactions. It interrupted your sleep. It competed for your focus. That hold is ending. You are regaining emotional sovereignty. Your nervous system is learning safety again. Your spirit is remembering its authority. You are no longer surviving spiritually. You are stabilizing. And stability is the platform for multiplication. The enemy is exposed. Not shouted at. Not fought loudly. Exposed quietly, cleanly, permanently. This is the kind of victory that does not make noise, but echoes for a lifetime. There will come a moment when you realize you no longer feel the need to look back. Not because the past no longer matters, but because it no longer controls you. The memories will still exist, but they will no longer sting. The names will still be familiar, but they will no longer have power. The triggers will still be there, but they will no longer dictate your responses. This is what healing looks like when God does it from the inside out. Quiet. Deep. Permanent. You are entering a season where reactions are replaced with responses. Where emotions no longer hijack your wisdom. Where pauses speak louder than explanations. Where you sense when to stay silent and when to speak without fear. This is not emotional numbness. This is emotional mastery. This is what happens when God rewires your internal world after exposure. There was a time when you would have fought to be understood. You would have poured energy into clarifying your intentions, your loyalty, your heart. You would have bent yourself into uncomfortable shapes just to keep peace. But now something has shifted. You no longer fight for space at tables God never assigned to you. You no longer compete for attention God already secured for you. You no longer beg for alignment when God is already rearranging everything behind the scenes. You can feel it in the way you breathe now. Slower. Deeper. Steadier. That is not coincidence. That is release. The weight you carried that you couldn't name is lifting. The emotional pressure that lived behind your eyes is easing. The constant alertness of always being on guard is softening. God is teaching your nervous system how to rest again, not because there is no battle, but because the battle is no longer yours to fight. You fought long enough. You discerned long enough. You endured long enough. You prayed long enough. Now you get to receive. The exposure has shifted responsibility. What once felt like your burden to prove, repair, rescue, or resolve is now firmly in God's hands. And God does not drop what He takes responsibility for. He does not mismanage justice. He does not mishandle truth. He does not forget who wounded you quietly while smiling publicly. Nothing is escaping Him. Nothing is hidden. Nothing is ignored. This is why you no longer feel the need to chase closure. Closure is already happening in the spirit. Doors are sealing. Access is being revoked. Assignments that were never meant to finish in your life are ending without announcement. And you are at peace with it in a way that surprises even you. You are no longer addicted to answers. You are finally addicted to peace. There is a new confidence forming in you that does not need to be loud. It does not need validation. It does not need applause. It simply stands. A quiet authority that comes from knowing God saw it all. God allowed it all. And God has now ended it all. The version of you that tolerated emotional crumbs is gone. The version of you that overgave to underqualified connections is gone. The version of you that kept hoping someone would suddenly become who they consistently chose not to be is gone. You didn't lose those versions of yourself. You outgrew them. And growth often feels like loss because shedding always precedes soaring. Soon, you will begin to attract a different kind of energy. Conversations will feel lighter, not heavier. Laughter will return without guilt. Rest will become natural again. You will notice that relationships no longer require constant interpretation. You will no longer decode tones, analyze delays, or interpret contradictions. What is real will finally feel simple. Because alignment feels simple. Deception feels complicated. And you have been delivered from complication. The enemy is exposed, but do not think this means he is loud. The enemy hates being uncovered. He favors chaos, not clarity. But what God has revealed cannot be unrevealed. What you have seen cannot be unseen. And what you have learned cannot be unlearned. This is irreversible vision. You may notice that some people distance themselves without confrontation. Do not chase them. Exposure makes pretenders uncomfortable. Truth makes manipulators restless. Light makes hidden motives nervous. Let them go quietly. Their departure is part of your protection, not your rejection. You are not being abandoned. You are being refined. You are not being isolated. You are being focused. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. There is something sacred about the space God is creating around you right now. It may feel empty compared to before, but it is not empty, it is clear. And clarity is the soil where the next blessings will take root. God does not plant new things in cluttered ground. He clears first. Always. Your next season is not loud. It is grounded. It is stable. It is strong. You will not need to announce your healing. People will feel it when you walk into the room. You will not need to explain your growth. People will sense it in how you carry yourself. You will not need to defend your peace. You will protect it naturally. And this peace will do something powerful. It will make it impossible for the old enemy to access you again. Because access always requires agreement. And you no longer agree with what once harmed you. From this moment forward, you will begin to notice how the noise no longer follows you. The echoes of old confusion will fade into the background like a storm that moved on without asking permission. What once tried to chase your thoughts will lose its grip. What once demanded your emotional energy will no longer have access. And what once felt louder than your faith will now feel smaller than your peace. This is how you will know the work is complete. Not by what rises, but by what no longer rises at all. You will stop arguing with yourself at night. You will stop replaying conversations in your mind. You will stop trying to rewrite endings that God already closed. You will stop asking why. You will stop negotiating with memories. Not because you became cold, but because you became free. Your silence will no longer be heavy. It will be restful. Your boundaries will no longer feel defensive. They will feel natural. Your heart will no longer feel guarded. It will feel guided. There will be moments when you catch yourself smiling without a reason. No trigger. No victory announcement. No external confirmation. Just an inner calm you can't explain. That is not random. That is your soul recognizing safety again. That is your spirit recognizing alignment again. That is your heart realizing that it no longer needs to brace for disappointment. You are no longer bracing. You are breathing. And in this new breath, God will begin to speak differently to you. Not through urgency, not through fear, not through emotional storms, but through still confidence. Guidance will come quietly now. Direction will feel gentle. Conviction will feel steady instead of sharp. Because God is no longer trying to get your attention. He already has it. You will not have to watch your back anymore the way you once did. Hypervigilance was a season. Survival mode was a chapter. Constant emotional defense was a phase. You no longer live there. That house has been demolished in the spirit. You have moved. Your address has changed. The enemy no longer knows where to find you. What once baited you will no longer interest you. What once agitated you will no longer stir you. What once tempted you will no longer charm you. Because exposure doesn't just reveal the enemy. It reprograms your desire. Your appetite has changed. You will crave peace more than passion. Clarity more than chemistry. Safety more than excitement. Stability more than intensity. And you will not apologize for that. There will be people who try to revisit you emotionally after this. They will test the door softly. They will knock with nostalgia. They will speak with memory instead of maturity. But you will not be moved. Not out of cruelty, out of completion. You will feel no bitterness. No urge for revenge. No need to prove anything. Just a calm awareness that some chapters do not reopen once the lesson has fully taught you. And that calm will shock you. Because once upon a time, it would have broken you. That alone is proof that God has finished something deep inside you. You will start to feel a quiet excitement about the future that is not rushed, not desperate, not frantic. It will feel steady, clean, patient, hope without panic, desire without anxiety, faith without strain. This is the reward of exposure. This is what clarity births. You will trust yourself again. You will trust your intuition again. You will trust your discernment again. You will trust God without constantly checking for disappointment. And this trust will change how you love, how you choose, how you wait, how you walk, how you rest. You are no longer waiting for the other shoe to drop. You are walking in shoes of peace. The enemy is exposed. And you are not just surviving the exposure, you are being established by it. Your future will not be built on emotional guessing. It will be built on spiritual knowing. Your next connections will not require you to shrink. They will require you to expand. Your next season will not emotionally drain you. It will emotionally stabilize you. Your next chapter will not confuse you. It will confirm you. And you will finally understand why God allowed everything you once questioned. Why He delayed what you begged for. Why He removed what you fought to keep. Why He blocked what you tried to resurrect. Why He exposed what you tried to protect. Not to hurt you, but to preserve you. Not to break you, but to build you unshakable. Not to embarrass you, but to elevate you beyond reach. You will look back one day, not with shame, not with anger, not even with sadness, but with gratitude that God loved you enough to show you the truth instead of leaving you comfortable in a lie. And when you finally rest into who you are becoming, you will realize something that will steady your heart forever: the enemy didn't win time. The enemy didn't steal destiny. The enemy didn't delay purpose. He only revealed how powerful God's protection truly is. You were never alone in the dark. God was just teaching your eyes how to see